All right, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about identity management. And this is a pretty cool uh, set of big money projects that are continuing to gain momentum. And we talked a little bit about it the other night, and we're going to talk some about it tonight as well. But uh, this is going to get a little bit more into detail, and I think that you'll see whenever we go through and do this that a lot of this stuff's probably going to make sense to you. So if you have a Google account or a Facebook account or any of the other big dogs that are out there, a lot of times we're seeing nowadays that you can use a federated account. Sounds awfully a lot like Star Trek with the World Federation, but essentially we're seeing the Facebook ID and password as well as the Google Plus ID and password starting to be used by other vendors out there because they want to transfer the risk of dealing with people's personal information. Why should you have to come up with a login and password and maintain all that stuff, have people forget, and then call the help desk or want their password reset when you can get Google or Facebook to take care of it for you. And really, the first thing that comes to mind whenever I start to talk about identity management is what is an identity? What is an identity? And really, I think that now more than ever, it's linked to the device in our pockets. So what does that mean? If you got a Gmail account, um, we've started to see big time marketing money be put in by Facebook, Google, and many of the other websites out there to find out what you like and what you don't like, and it goes into these things that are on uh, the the screen right now, where we talked a little bit before about the something something you have, something you are, and then right now, once your identification and authenticated, you're authorized, and then the accountability, right? Well, all of that comes into identity management, and we're going to enumerate things like access control, user account management, password management, and this term that a lot of organizations continue to try to move towards, this thing that's called a single sign-on. Um, and so, all these functionalities, we're starting to see much, much more automation. So, in your mind, what uses accounts or access control? What do you guys think uses access control? Well, hopefully everybody's still awake, but first and foremost, I would say hopefully you got a some sort of pen or biometrics kicking like judo on your phone, right? I mean, you're gonna hopefully protect that thing instead of just having a slider. You're gonna, you got all your information on your phone. Hopefully, you're gonna use some sort of access control to protect it. And if not, then that's something you want to do. But your bank, um, your probably your work of some sort. You may have a swipe badge that you get in. So really, we're talking about a couple of different things here, right? We've seen over the last 15 years um, a couple of different things happen. So there's the physical sense of access control, right? So that would be things like gates, guards, and guns. That's how we control access in the physical sense. And then on the other side, we've seen a convergence, if you will, of physical and logical access control and security, because most of the physical side of the house uses information technology, right? And the logical then can be implemented to issue badges and then encode badges. Maybe you put sensors on the network or on the fence with little microcontrollers reporting back. But usually what we see is convergence here with just about everything uses access control, both physical and logical. So it's kind of neat to just think about all the different things in your life that you use access control on, and in the corporations it's not any different. Many times, first and foremost, you're going to have some sort of way to very, very quickly look up things. Back in the 80s and 90s, we had these things called the phone book, right? And you guys probably have seen them before and probably hit your best friend over the head with one of them. I mean, they're huge, and usually when we talk about a directory, the metaphor that I like to get people to think about with directory services is it's kind of like a phone book. And whether it's the X500 that uses this thing called the directory information tree, and it's a hierarchical model, or this thing that's called the lightweight directory access protocol that also it implements a directory information tree, but basically it organizes it into this thing that's called an organizational unit, or specifically these things that are called OU. So these OUs are quite clever in that once this is built, the infrastructure is built, you can actually lickety-split look somebody up. And that's why if you're trying to log in, that usually you'll see, even if it's a millisecond, there's some sort of delay. And usually, you hit the submit button. Once you hit the submit button for the user ID and login, what it does is it encapsulates that little packet that comes across, it pushes it off to some sort of authentication server. And then the authentication server will go and do a lookup into its phone book right here. And those phone books are usually things like a directory server or an LDAP, but basically it's organized in a way that maybe has the HR department all together, it has IT all together, it has finance all together, and essentially what it'll do is, since it's organized, you can say if my OU equals IT, and again my OU equals underneath IT, you may have like software engineering, you may have information systems, you may have cyber, or whatever you're going to call it. So let's say that I have cyber here underneath my IT OU, and then inside the cyber group here, the organizational unit, you may have, let's say, 10 people. And so this string gets created for this directory lickety split on the fly and can be looked up very, 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 very quickly. So anybody in this cyber group, let's say that underneath here you have n number of people, then my distinguished name, my DN, would be a unique identifier. So that would be B. McGee in my case right here. And then in my DN, it's considered this thing that's called an object. And the object then is essentially everything that the organization needs to know about Ben McGee. When my birthday is, what my SSN is, what my address is, what whatever that is, your salary, your access control to doors, your access control to different applications. It's all stored in these directories, and probably the most widely used one in the world is Active Directory. So AD, and that is a Microsoft product. We're seeing a lot more people push the up to Office 365 and starting to trust the hosted as a service, environment as a service, or platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service. So that's what we're starting to see. But essentially for directories and directory servers, it's unmatched. You can't install a database and get anywhere close to the type of performance with directories and directory servers. So this is a big topic. You'll probably see at least 2 or 3 on your exam to talk specifically about directories. So definitely look for this on the exam.